It's Eurovision week. Eurovision season is back. It is the Christmas in spring for the LGBT community. Love it or loathe it, Eurovision is responsible for the beginnings of people like Celine Dion and also ABBA, as everybody knows by now. It is consistently one of, if not the most watched TV programme every single year, with around 165 million people tuning into the 2023 edition alone. Now, Eurovision has evolved tremendously from its humble beginnings as just a way to bring together war-torn Europe after World War II. After the World War, people said, you know what, let's just have a sing-song and all get along. For the untrained eye, you may be thinking, why are Australia in it? What does 12 points mean? Why are the UK so bad? What are the rules? Or is it all just about politics? And this is where I'm going to come in handy for you for my Eurovision for Beginners video. Whilst the Eurovision might not be that popular in the UK anymore, in some countries, like such as Ukraine for example, winning the Eurovision is a massive deal, and in 2004, their winning entrant was actually granted a seat in Parliament. So without further ado, let's dive headfirst into Europe's wackiest TV tradition. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pop Goes Joe TV. Now, some of you may have seen me on some other apps doing some pop culture things and also trying to make you laugh, and I've had people comment on there, you know what, Joe, you need to take this to YouTube, you need to do long form, you'd be so good at it, and who am I to not do what the people want? So here we are, this is my first long form video. The aim is to put something out every single week on things that I personally don't think are going to make any history textbooks, but they would definitely make mine if I was ever to write one. Now, I've been a lifelong Eurovision fan. My first Eurovision was actually in 2007, where I saw Verka Serduchka do Dancing Lascia Tumbai, and I thought, I want a slice of this. I would like a slice of this every single year until I leave this planet, and thankfully, it looks like I'm going to get that. That year also, the United Kingdom sent our criminally underrated and very camp entry Scooch, where he kind of parodied EasyJet, and Europe didn't like it. But hill that I will die on is Scooch were underrated. But with the attitude that Eurovision can be a very bad career move, how is that possible when it launched the careers of people like Celine Dion and ABBA, and most recently, probably Måneskin? So first, let's go through a brief history of the Eurovision. Eurovision was first hosted as a way to bring together war-torn Europe after World War II. The concept of it was actually based on the San Remo Music Festival, which is an Italian music festival which is still run today and normally chooses the Italian act for Eurovision. Initially, just 7 countries actually took part, but nowadays we see up to about 35 to 40 countries taking part every single year. Eurovision was also put together as a way to test transnational broadcasting. It was a way to test whether these pan-European broadcasts would work and if the people of Europe would actually get behind it. So let's go through the rules of it. Each country that wishes to participate in the Eurovision must send an original song, and it must be sung live at the Eurovision Song Contest. They also need to be a member of the EBU, which is the European Broadcasting Union, except for one country, and that's Australia. A lot of people ask every single year, why are Australia in the Eurovision? So I'm going to answer that for you right now. Eurovision had a cult following in Australia to the point that they actually got their own commentary box for the live shows. Now, for Eurovision's 60th anniversary in 2015, they were invited to compete for one night only. But strong public perception and performance actually led Australia to be invited back every single year, receiving special permission to do so by the EBU, and as it stands, they're the only country outside of the EBU to take part in Eurovision. Should Australia win the Eurovision, they are not allowed to host it down under. We are not going to see a Eurovision morning anytime soon. Instead, they have to partner with a country in Europe to then use their country to host it. We've seen the likes of Germany and also the United Kingdom offer up their homes for it, and the closest they came to this was in 2016 when they finished second with Dami Im's Sound of Silence. Up until 2004, Eurovision was just one night in the middle of May. But in 2004, they introduced a semi-final, and then in 2008, they introduced a second semi-final, which is the format that we still run today. The top 10 countries from each semi-final then qualify for the final, along with the Big Five. So who are the Big Five? The Big Five is the name given to Italy, Spain, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom, as they make the biggest financial contributions to the Eurovision, and in doing so, they automatically get a pass into the final. Now, this ruling has upset some people. It's definitely not without its controversy, because some people believe that they're effectively buying their way into the final, and therefore it isn't really fair. But then on the flip side, up until 2024, those that were in the Big Five only got one chance to actually perform to all of Europe, and that was in the final. Whereas other countries were able to garner support by performing in the semi-finals, therefore building a fan base before the live night. So in 2024, they were then allowed to perform in the semi-finals, which is done by random, but you just can't vote for them. It just meant that they were able to then perform and hopefully garner some support there too, and it was a bit of a fairer playing field. Eurovision songs need to be 3 minutes or less, and there can only be up to 6 people on stage at one time. Each country cannot vote for themselves. Sorry, you're not allowed. And that may have something to do with the fact that in 1956, Luxembourg asked Switzerland to vote on their behalf, and who was the winner that year? Switzerland. Now, current rules that will determine votes by using 50% a jury and 50% the public vote. This is to try to combat the bloc voting that we've seen in previous years, which is where countries that are neighbours or friendly with one another will just vote for each other regardless of the song. Each country gives points 1 to 8, 10, and then the famous 12 points, 12 points. Since 2023, the rest of the world have been classed as their own country, and they get their own set of 1 to 12 points to then cast into the Eurovision too. Whoever wins the Eurovision Song Contest gets the honour of then hosting it in their country for the following year. How does a country choose its act? It's completely up to the country how they choose their act. Some countries will prefer to use an internal selection, which is what the UK has been doing for the past few years, whereas others, most notably Sweden, will have their own mini Eurovisions that last up to 6 weeks in order to choose their national entry. Personally, for me, I much prefer the national final. I think it's something that helps expand Eurovision way beyond just 1 week of May, with some of these selection processes beginning as early as January, but everybody needs to choose their artist by late March. One of the selection processes, which is the San Remo Music Festival, was actually around before Eurovision and acted kind of like a test run really for the big European show. Similar ones such as the Festival of British Songs, which happened in 1956, which was created by the BBC to actually debunk the idea that the BBC preferred like American music to British music, have influenced the contest too, most notably by the inclusion of the nail-biting scoreboard that we all know and love today. Now recently we have definitely seen some more love for the Eurovision, and I'd say that's probably down to the fact that in 2021 TikTok became the official partner for Eurovision, and it had a massive push towards the Gen Z audience. What it also did as well is allow Eurovision to live way beyond just that night in May and have so many short form videos going around that Eurovision season really becomes a whole month, or half a year, depending on how much you love it. Who will I know from the Eurovision? The most famous act of all time is of course ABBA. ABBA won the Eurovision in 1974 with Waterloo, and then in that year alone they sold 20 million albums. It also paves the way for the Bottomless Brunch crew here in the UK, because you cannot move for love nor money and not see an ABBA brunch somewhere. They now do them on boats, they now do them in the sky. The ABBA brunch is a staple of British culture, and we have the Eurovision to thank for that. You also had Celine Dion, who sang for Switzerland in the 1980s and won it. And up until last year, that was the last time that Switzerland actually won the Eurovision. And with the competition taking place this year, there are rumours that she is going to come back and she is going to sing for them, so who knows. In a more random term, we've also had Flo Rida sing with San Marino in 2021. Duncan Lawrence's win with Arcade actually went viral on TikTok and it has over 1 billion streams. Cascada have taken part for Germany. Katrina and the Waves are very popular in the UK. Cliff Richard did it for the UK. Tattoo have done it for Russia. Jedward have done it for Ireland twice. Verka Serduchka did it for Ukraine and then had a role in the film Spy. And Epic Sax guy, he's from Eurovision too. So some Eurovision trivia for you. Ireland and Sweden hold the record for having the most Eurovision wins, both at 7. And in the 1990s, Ireland actually won the Eurovision 3 times in a row, a record which hasn't been beaten since. Many people think that the UK are just really bad at it, but in actual fact, we've just been terrible for all of the 21st century. We actually have one of the strongest records, winning it 5 times. In 1969, 4 countries won the Eurovision, which meant that we had a 4-way tie. This was the United Kingdom, Spain, France, and the Netherlands. However, there was no tie-break rule put in, so it meant that all 4 countries just had to share the win. And that was the year that we said Lulu. Good old Lulu, shout Lulu. The UK has also hosted the Eurovision a record 9 times. But on 5 of these occasions, it wasn't actually for us. The UK hosted for the Netherlands in 1960, for France in 1963, for Monaco in 1972, Luxembourg in 1974, and Ukraine in 2023. For all countries but Ukraine, that this was due to financial responsibilities because it costs quite a lot to host the Eurovision. So the UK said, you know what, it'll come out of our pocket, don't you worry about about that. And also down to actually just not having the space to host Eurovision. Eurovision sees many people travel. It is a big boom like for tourism. But some countries, especially at the time in the 1960s, they didn't have the suitable venues for it. Portugal had to wait 49 years to claim their first win at the Eurovision, and as of now that is the longest stretch like from their debut to their first winning performance. However, they did it in style, and with the new point system they hold the record for the most points scored in any Eurovision at 758. The longest running losers of the Eurovision are actually Cyprus, and a hill that I will die on is Cyprus. They deserved 2018. The UK actually gave ABBA 0 points in 1974, which is very funny considering we've kind of based our entire personality on ABBA since. The only year that Eurovision hasn't taken place was 2020, and that was of course because of COVID. And Sweden really are the ones to beat every single year. There is something in the water in Sweden that just makes them really good at pop music. Sweden come out swinging every single year, and they are the favourites to win this year too. Now finally, some Eurovision scandals. Probably the biggest scandal of all that occurs pretty much every single year is this notion called bloc voting. Bloc voting, that is where countries that are neighbours or countries that have like certain kind of political advantages with one another, they will then vote for each other regardless of the song quality. It's most commonly found in the Balkan bloc, the ex-Soviet bloc, the Nordic bloc, the Greek-Cypriot love affair, and in some cases the United Kingdom and Ireland, although in recent years we haven't really been voting for one another. It isn't really that simple, because there are things such as immigration, for example, that are going to sway the vote, and also, dare I say it, the actual quality of the song. However, this actually did make Terry Wogan sensationally quit the Eurovision. He said that it had just become this massive kind of political farce. The ongoing political tensions between Armenia and Azerbaijan are a constant area of controversy for the contest. Russia were famously kicked out of the Eurovision in 2022 due to the invasion of Ukraine. It's led people to call for Israel to be called out due to their invasion. The 2024 contest actually saw Israel use anti-boo technology, which meant that when the live performance was actually transmitted to everybody back at home, we couldn't hear the boos that were happening in the arena. And alongside this, we actually had the Netherlands get kicked out of the Eurovision that year due to an apparent altercation backstage. That's my Eurovision rundown, and the 2025 contest will see us go to Switzerland. My personal favourite this year is definitely Germany. I think they've sent kind of the German Charlie XCX. I know she's not the best live, but I think she'll be alright on the night. But as I said before, Sweden are definitely the ones to beat. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It would mean quite a lot to me. And I'll see you next week.